Welcome to The Secrets of Success. By following the proven techniques of the guests who appear on this series, you'll learn that even successful people run into detours and failures, and how you can apply their success techniques to change your life.
You're now listening to the most unique show on radio, the show dedicated to making you a success. Why is goal setting the key to achievement? We'll find out today from our guest, Kevin Shulman. Kevin, welcome to The Secrets of Success.
And thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Kevin, we hear a lot about goals. What are the most frequent excuses why people don't set goals?
Oh, boy, there are hundreds of them. Everything from, I don't have to actually write it down. I've got them right here in my head, to goal setting really doesn't work, does it? And that's kind of for other people. There are just so many. And then the bigger problem is that when they do try it, they make some of the classic mistakes, and then it doesn't work, and then then that's their excuse for not doing it. I tried it once before, didn't work, and so I'm not going to do it again. And that's almost always a mistake in every endeavor.
Do people actually, I'm sure we all make excuses for what we don't do, whether it's not eating right, etc. But do people actually, are they serious about this when they're talking to you? Can you tell, is there a percentage of people who are really serious and believe it, or are they just kind of getting themselves out of trouble?
Well, you just used a magic word, which is serious. And I always say that goal setting is serious business. I like to say that most people will spend a lot more time planning a 3-week vacation than they will spend planning the rest of their lives. And so there are so many classic mistakes that people make, and then they become the excuse. Not the least of which is they set their goals on New Year's Eve at the stroke of midnight when they're probably a little bit drunk, and then they say all sorts of grand things. I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to sell more this year. Whatever it is, I'm going to start a new business. But it's interesting. Goal setting works in your subconscious mind, not your conscious mind, not your unconscious mind, but that middle plane. And your subconscious mind has to know that you're serious about it. And when you make a half-drunken statement that I'm going to do X, Y, or Z, your subconscious knows you're not serious about it. You know you're not serious about it. And in fact, the person who says, I'm going to lose 20 pounds next month, while they're drunk on New Year's Eve with a mouthful of chocolate cake in their mouth, if you ask them, do you really believe you're going to lose 20 pounds next month? They'll say, well, probably not, but it's a nice thought. And so they don't even believe it.
Kevin, throughout your book, you have a lot of great quotes, and I'm going to throw them in here. But one of them I read, and it definitely impressed me. People do not just wander around and find themselves at the top of Mount Everest. And that resonated with me because if we're going to achieve anything in the world, even a mediocre athlete, they didn't make the major leagues or the Professional Football or Basketball Association just by mistake. Somewhere in there they practiced. They had to have a goal to make Division III, Division II, and if it's college sport or the major leagues or AAA ball or something. So I think there's a lot to be learned from what you have in your book. But we all seem to avoid it. Are we avoiding the goal setting because we think we're going to fail, or do we just not want to stay away from chocolate cake?
Well, I think it may be a little bit of a lot of things. I think some of us don't want to give up the chocolate cake. And unfortunately, I haven't yet found a chocolate cake diet that works. I've been looking for one, haven't found it. Although I have a theory that if you only eat chocolate cake, you will eventually lose weight. And if nothing else, you'll eventually discover that you have a dislike for chocolate cake, and you'll give up chocolate cake.
Kind of like working in the ice cream factory.
Indeed, same concept. So I think there are some people who are afraid to fail. I don't believe there's anybody that has fear of success. I think that's a misnomer. I don't think it exists. But I think there are plenty of people who have fear of failure. And, this is a true story that I can't make up. One year I was doing my annual goal setting program with my clients, and I have a lot of people that come year after year and have been coming for many years to that program. And I had somebody sitting right up front. He was there. I noticed him. He was there the last year, but this was his second time around. And first thing that started as we were getting going, he raised his hand. He said, I needed to tell you this stuff doesn't work. And I said, okay, what do you mean? And he was deadly serious. And he said, last year I set 27 goals and I only made 23 of them. So you see, this doesn't work. And now everybody's starting to chuckle the way you are. And I said, well, tell me about the 4 you didn't make. And he said, well, 3 of them I came real close, but 1 of them I missed by a mile. So you see, it doesn't work.
I love that. And I saw that one in your book. I was going to bring that up later in the show. It's almost unbelievable, but I'm sure you're going to have obviously you have a lot of stories, and I hope you share them with us as we go through today. I know,
but this is the person that will just see the cloud inside every silver lining. Nothing works 100% of the time. I wish it did. But it's, there's an example, and I think I tell the story in the book about when I started tracking my revenues as a goal every quarter. And I think of my business quarterly. And so I set up a little thermometer to track it. And the first year that I did it, it got to, and I'll actually tell the story now. It came to $1,500 short of my number with a day to go in the quarter, and I had nothing in my calendar for the next day. And I told myself, by hook or by crook, I'm going to sell $1,500 tomorrow, even if I have to call up my mother and sell her some training. And so I got on the phone and I pounded the phone. And the good news is that at the end of the day, I had booked 14 appointments. Now, I don't know if anybody else sees it, but I believe that thermometer that I drew caused 14 appointments. Because I certainly, on the first beautiful Friday afternoon of spring, would not have been sitting in my office making all those calls. And I didn't close any business. And just as I was getting ready to shut it down and go home and say to myself, gee, falling 1% short really isn't so bad, the phone rang. And it was this woman, Renee, that I'll never forget her. She had this very soft little voice. And she said, I don't know if you remember me, but I came to one of your programs a few months ago. I couldn't afford you then, but I can afford you now. How do we get started? And I said, well, that all depends. Do you have $1,500 worth of credit on your credit card? And bam, there it was. And I even believe that's the only reason she called is because I drew that thermometer. And I set the goal, and it happened. Because I surely at 3:30 on a Friday afternoon in springtime, I would not have been sitting in my office to get that call. And maybe she never calls on Monday. So since then, and this is 25 years now, I've done a quarterly goal like that for my business. And every quarter, the number goes up a little bit. And I have made it all but 3 times. Now that's 100. That's roughly 100 quarterly goals that I've hit 97. Now 3 times I failed, but I don't think it's a failure. I don't think it doesn't work because I missed 3 times.
Kevin, a question for you. Did I get this statistic correct from your book? The practice of goal setting accelerates dramatically among top earners.
The statistics are amazing. The numbers, as I understand them, is approximately 4% of the population practices goal setting, and what I call active goal setting. That's actually physically sitting down, writing out goals for long-term, short-term, and retirement goals, and then writing out some plans to achieve them. About 4% of the population. What's interesting is in the top 2%, that number is about 20%. So 20% of the top 2% practice active goal setting. And what's really interesting is there's now enough billionaires that we track them and study them. And amongst billionaires, 100% report that they are active goal setters. And, what I know is that that's a correlation. I understand enough about statistics. I used to teach statistics back in the olden days. But what I figured a long time ago is money does not cause goal setting. It has to be the other way around.
And I love that because most of us want to make that earning. And if the goal setting is going to lead us in that direction, Bingo, bingo, the bells are going off.
Absolutely.
Kevin, at this point in the show, I just want to let our audience know that they're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan. Our guest today is Kevin Shulman, Shulman. His book is Goal Setting Bootcamp. And Kevin, would you tell us, is there a website where we can learn more, and where can we get the book?
The website, and you can get the book on the website, is www.weexpectsuccess.com. That's all spelled out, weexpectsuccess.com. And the book is clearly available there, along with mountains of other information. You can also do it the easy way, the old-fashioned way. Go to Amazon and buy the book there.
And Kevin, as I said to you before the show, the book is the price of a typical paperback book that you'd get in the store. But most of us want that secret. That's what this show is about. For 33 years, we keep asking people for the secret of success. Just reading your book, I'm looking and saying, oh my gosh, this is something that's been out there. It's not hidden. You didn't discover it. You don't claim to. But setting goals can make such a difference. And if you wanted to put this on TV for $799 or higher numbers, I'm sure with a few bells and whistles added and a colored practice kit and a bunch of weights that are going to make us thin, you could sell the whole thing to us. And yet this is the price of a pocketbook. All we have to do is pick it up after listening to the show, or go to your website, get a little more information and how it can change our life. So to anyone listening, this is one of those books I'm keeping in my personal library. It's been building for 33 years on success. I would advise you to do the same thing. Kevin, why is writing goals?
I want to step in for a second, for a moment, Bill, because you said it's been out there forever and all you have to do is go buy the book. Buying the book won't make it happen. It's called Goal Setting Bootcamp for a reason. It is set up as a 3-day workshop for you to do at home. And by the way, I strongly suggest doing it with spouse or significant other. And if you don't have one, find a close friend, because accountability is part of goal setting and a part of making it work. And it's a great experience to do together with someone you care about, because you'll find out some of the things that are important to them and what some of their goals and aspirations are. So I really think it's important to note that you need to spend the time to do it. So that's why we set it up as a 3-day boot camp. And by the way, 3 days doesn't mean 8-hour days. It's 3 days for 2-3 hours, and you can make it work. I think it's a great exercise for a rainy or snowy, depending on what season it is. A weekend by the fireplace with a bottle of wine, and you can be relaxed and do goal setting seriously. And so I think it's putting in the time. And then, of course, there's an extra 4th day in there because my company is Sandler Training. We are at our core, we are sales and client development experts. So there's an extra day for salespeople on how to grow your business dramatically. In fact, there's something in there I call the business doubler, and it does in fact work if you'll do it. But it means putting in some work, not just saying, oh, I'd like to double my business and thinking that magic is going to happen. Magic doesn't happen.
And Kevin, I'm just thinking as you're saying this, I don't think any of us would get in the car and say, I'm going on vacation, and just let the road take us. And yet we do that with our life rather than taking a few days, as you said here. And I'm saying it in quotes, if we're a failure like that man who only hit 23 out of his 27 goals, wouldn't that be great? Instead of making $1 million, we only make 800,000, or we only find that perfect friend, business associate, or school that we want to go to. Wouldn't that be a great failure?
Exactly. And the key is a number of things, but one of them, you just said it. It's the attitude of looking for the success rather than looking for the failure. We all know people who have the ability to suck all the energy out of a room just by walking in. The people that will find the cloud in every silver lining, and that are looking for failure. And for those people, the book really isn't written for them unless they want and really believe that they can change their attitude and the way they see things.
Well, I just wrote that down because that's going to be my mantra now. Look for success, not failure. Kevin, why is writing, in fact, I just wrote it down. So there leads to my next question. Why is writing your goals down so important? Can't we just walk around, or while we're driving, say, I have 3 goals. I want to lose weight. I want to lift more weights and make double what I'm making this year?
So a couple of flaws in that. The first one that I just want to, before it escapes my mind, is that saying I want to lose more weight is not enough. The important thing about goal setting is that goals have to be specific. And more is not specific. I always joke my wife doesn't want much, she just wants more. But there's no way to know when you've gotten there. It's much better to say I want to lose 20 pounds with a by date. When am I going to do it by? I want to lose 20 pounds in the next 30 days. I want to lose, I have a great story of a client that wanted to lose 145 pounds. And his goal was to do it in a year. And he actually did it in 13 months. Now, there's a great example of there are some people that would say, see, it didn't work. It took him longer than his target year. But I think losing 145 pounds is daunting, absolutely daunting. And to do that in 13 months is spectacular. And he would not have done it had he not written out the goal, written out when he wanted to achieve by, and then written out a plan of all the things he was going to have to do in order to achieve it. Now, the one thing he didn't calculate for is that when you have a large amount of weight to lose, in the first couple of months, you tend to lose it very rapidly. But once your body physiologically changes and is used to losing weight and used to living on less calories, stasis starts to set in and it starts to become a little more difficult to lose weight. So it ended up taking him 1 month longer than the plan. I think that's a raging success.
Kevin, I think any of us would be happy to lose even 5 pounds. But I'm just wondering, what are the most likely, I'm guessing, weight loss and income, but are there any unique things that people have set as goals and that maybe we want to adopt?
Oh, boy, I've heard so many different goals. I want to take us off on a slight tangent and then come back to that. I want to talk about the biggest mistake that people make when setting goals. The biggest mistake they make is they start with their business goals. They start with money. And they start by saying, if they're in sales, last year I sold X 100,000 or X million. I want to do that plus 10% or 20%. If they're business owners, they say, I want to grow my business by 20%. And again, if I ask them, if how would you feel if you only grew 15%? They'd say, 15 is pretty good. I'd be happy with that. And the problem, and sometimes even worse, if you're in sales and you work for a company, sometimes they give you their goals. They use words like quota and targets, and they're not even your goals. And the problem is they're just numbers, and they're not overly motivating. What we don't do is we don't start with our personal goals, which is what we should be doing, and looking at all the different areas of our lives. I've got one client who has 27 different areas of her life that she sets goals in. And these can be, clearly money is a goal and income is a goal. You might have house goals. You might have family goals and social goals. You may have educational goals. You may have religious or spiritual goals. I'm a collector, so I actually have wine goals. And I joke about it that my wife has shoe goals, and I'm not so sure I'm joking. But the key is to think about all the different areas that you want to have goals, that you want to excel, that you want to improve. Some of them take money, some of them don't. Some of them take time. Some of them take a little effort. You may have hobby goals, for example. You may have workout goals or weight goals and health and fitness goals. And once you figure out what your short-term and long-term goals are for all of those. And typically, short-term is anything under a year. I can have a goal for next week or a goal for this year, and that's a great goal. That's short-term. Anything between a year and 5 years is long-term goals. And I use that for a reason. For some reason, your subconscious can't really see that far ahead in the future. So I don't often talk about 10 and 20-year goals unless we're talking about retirement goals, which is the third category. You should have retirement goals as well. And you see, once you realize what you want your life to look like a year from now, 5 years from now, and in retirement, then figure out what you need to do in your business, in your work life. And now that goal becomes motivating, because once I know that if I'm in my business, I can do X, Y, and Z, that will give me the personal life that I want. Now I'm motivated, and that'll get me to work my sorry little butt off.
Kevin, once again, I want our audience to know that if you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan. Today, our guest is Kevin Shulman, spelled Shulman. He's the author of the book, Goal Setting Bootcamp. And if you've been listening, you know that this could be exactly what you're looking for. It's a very short, simple book. It's information, and Kevin told us it's going to take about 3 days of your life to go through it, not reading the book, but following the instructions in there and the boot camp plan that he has for you. But why spend years going to school, taking certificates, taking courses, trying to start up new businesses at an extremely high cost when goal setting may be the first thing you should be doing so you know the direction you're going? Kevin, would you tell us where we can get the book and the website?
We can get the book at my website, which is www.weexpectsuccess.com. That's weexpectsuccess.com with 2 E's at we expect. And of course, you can go the old-fashioned way and get the book on Amazon.
Kevin, I know a lot of people that I talk to, and I'm kind of an easygoing person, but they don't like authority and they don't like people setting things down for them. And you made an interesting quote in the book. You said, if you're setting goals, you avoid the common mistake of letting other people or circumstances determining what gets your time or attention. Could you talk about that?
One of my mentors, Dave Sandler, very wise man. And one of the things he said was his quote was, you're either part of your own plan or you're a part of someone else's. And when I really sat down one day to think about that quote, because at first I just took it on the surface that, it was important to set goals so that you can be a part of your plan. But what I realized is that the vast majority of the world does not have their own plan. They're just out there, spending their day based on whatever happened yesterday. And what I realized is I could have a number of other people be a part of my plan. And so I do, in fact, have a number of people that are a part of my plan, mostly with their consent. Some maybe not quite so much. But it's true and it's important. Clearly everybody that works in my office is part of my plan. But I also sit down with some of my former clients every year, just a handful of them that I've got the kind of relationship with that I can get away with this. And I'll sit down with them in December or January, and I'll say, Bill, this year I've got a job for you. This year you are responsible to bring me 3 new clients. And if there's any way I can help you, let me know, but that's your job for me this year. And you know what most of them say? Most of them say, fine, my pleasure. And you know what most of them don't say? Most of them don't say, here's what I have as your plan for me this year, because most of them don't have a plan.
Well, I love that. And I'm just thinking, someone in your profession, that's like free lotto tickets just blowing in your window, and all you have to do is scratch them off, and you're bound to win a few out of there.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, listen, related to that is referral generation. And, most people say that their business is referral generated or word of mouth generated. But when I ask them how many referrals they're averaging per client per year, I get a blank stare back because nobody's tracking it and nobody's asking it. And the number is always a number between 0 and 1, closer to 0, because no one does it. And that's a great goal, is to increase your referral base. Tremendous goal.
I think already our audience is getting the idea. And again, we're using monetary and job because I guess most people, that's their immediate direction. And obviously that's what we're working for. But it could be something else in life, helping a child through school, children, brothers and sisters, spouse in their work effort.
I need to stop you for a second because you just said something that was critical. One of the best things you can do for your kids is teach them goal setting. There was a study I read a long time ago. I don't have the reference to it. It was out in the Midwest, and they took 2 classes of first graders and that were going to be going through 1st through 6th grade together. And one class got the same curriculum they always got. The other class got a little bit of goal setting thrown in. At the beginning of the year, the teacher said, this year we're going to learn our ABCs and we're going to learn our numbers. We're going to learn to count. And during the year at periodically, she'd say, how are we doing on learning our ABCs and how are we doing about our goal of learning to count this year? And then the next year in second grade, again, the curriculum was the same, but that class got, this year we're going to learn nouns and verbs and this year we're going to learn to add and subtract. And this went on through sixth grade. And then when they went into middle school and high school, they all got mixed up and nobody thought about it until 6 years later when they were time to graduate. And they went back and tracked those 30 kids that got the goal setting versus the 30 kids that didn't get the goal setting. And the average difference in SAT scores was 150 points. Now, you cannot overstate how big 150 points is in SAT scores. That's the difference between Ivy League and another school.
Wow. I like the way you put that, Ivy League and another school. Yes.
And so you cannot do anything that's much more critical for your kids than that. There's another story that I know about someone who taught his kid goal setting at a very young age. When she wanted I don't even remember what it was, like a new stereo system. And he taught her how to go to set a goal and to start and how to work for it. And then fast forward 10 years when she graduated high school and all her friends were going to the beach for the weekend and she went to Europe for 3 months because 2 years before she set the goal to do it, she started getting part-time jobs and she took care of all the travel arrangements and made it happen on her own. And this is a kid who's going to be incredibly successful in life because she learned it when she was 6 years old.
And I bet you're recruiting her right now that you have her walking in your door and she's going to be working with you or for you for at least a little while.
And I can promise you, I was talking with my grandson as recently as yesterday. He's all of 3 years old. And I was talking to him about how this coming summer, he's going to learn to swim and that he's going to be able to swim like a fish. And he's already excited about the possibility of learning to swim like a fish.
Kevin, I could go another 3 hours with you. This has been so much fun, but I really want our audience to know the name of the book. I'm going to tell them who we're talking to. It's Kevin Shulman. He is the author, and his name is spelled Shulman. The book is Goal Setting Bootcamp. Goal Setting Bootcamp. Kevin, once again, I'm going to ask you to tell us the website and where we can get the book.
Can get the book at my website, which is weexpectsuccess.com, because in my business, we all expect success.com. So weexpectsuccess.com, or you can clearly go to Amazon, and if you've got Prime, you'll get it faster that way.
Kevin, we want to thank you so much for being with us, for giving us some tips and alerting us to all the good things that goal setting can do and changing our life. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I'd like our audience to know that you've been listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan, asking you to please join us again next week at the same time when we will continue our journey to success.